Happy Halloween, witches! Alright, as you can see, I am fully decorated for the spooky season. I've got my It's Just a Bunch of Hocus Pocus shirt on. I've got my conical hat. I have my Ghost Read in Peace tumbler. And I also have, I was just at the Stanley recently, and so the hotel that inspired Stephen King to write The Shining, and I got this amazing wine glass, and it is filled with red rum. I'm just kidding, it's filled with wine, because welcome to Wine Club. So this is the playlist where I drink good wine while I whine about bad books. And unfortunately, today's offender is Not the Witch You Wed by April Asher. So, like I say in all my reviews, this is solely about the book, not about Asher as a person, as I'm sure she is lovely in person. But let's go ahead and get into the critique and see what the book promised to be about. Magicless witch Violet Maxwell wants nothing to do with the alpha wolf shifter Lincoln Thorne, the man who broke her fragile teenage heart. But when the two of them are forced by arcane supernatural laws to find mates, Violet and Lincoln agree to fake date their way to a fake mating in order to conjure themselves some time. The joke's on them. When old feelings make a reappearance, along with Violet's magic, they both realize there's nothing fake about their feelings. But there are old secrets and looming threats that could snatch away their happily ever after. Again. One thing's for sure. Magic doesn't make dating and love any easier. In Not the Witch You Wed, April Asher brings all the hilarity and sweet, sexy moments you love in romantic comedy, plus a fun dose of magic, to the spellbinding new series about being sexy, single, and supernatural in New York City. Also, I do want to say, fair warning, I will be spoiling this book, so if you want to go into this blind, do not watch this review, as I will be revealing major plot points and major twists that exist in this. So, I'm also going to preface my review with the fact that this is not my typical genre. I got this as part of a subscription box. I actually want to say it might have been Scribbler, but I'm not entirely sure, so please don't hold me to that. But it did come with a subscription box. And I do love books about witches. Romance and spicy books just aren't my typical jam. And I kind of hate to say it, because I can tell through the writing that the author really cares about these characters and the world she's building. But my God, did it strike me as E.L. James meets Lanny Sarum of the famed Handbook for Mortals fiasco. It read a bit like self-insert fanfiction, as Violet, or Vi, is this great girl whose only flaw is that she falls down a lot. Like, we don't have enough heroines constantly tripping over and needing to be rescued by a man. Plus, Lincoln is just smitten with her and constantly tells her she's gorgeous and amazing and gorgeous and the most special person to ever walk the planet. Did he say how beautiful she is yet today? I get it. So, speaking of 50 Shades, Violet, her magic kind of has like this humanized element, and she calls it Sparky, which, I mean, you do you, but I couldn't read about Sparky and take it seriously. But Sparky reminded me way too much of the 50 Shades of Grey and Anna's ridiculous inner goddess, which is already kind of a terrible ripoff of Lizzie McGuire and her like inner thoughts as a cartoon. At least Lizzie McGuire actually kind of did the inner thoughts thing well, because it was a show for children and you could actually see it. I don't know. Her magic was personified and living its own life, but like, is it a separate being from her? Am I actually supposed to imagine a cartoon version of like her magic popping in from like the sidelines? Is it another voice inside her head? The world will never know. For the characters in the book, they didn't really strike me as people in their early 30s. They all talk like snarky 18-year-olds. Like, the kids from Stranger Things Season 1 sounded more like adults than the characters in this book. A character actually tells Link that changing the government structure of an entire magical society is child's play compared to apologizing and begging for forgiveness from the heroine. I understand it's comedy. I understand it's exaggeration for the sake of comedy. But like, what, are they 13? I'm supposed to believe that Violet, who calls someone a jerk turd, is mature enough to sit on a council? Like, I guess it's a good thing she didn't really have a career until Lincoln stepped in and appointed her job at the kids center, so she could take over being a prima at the end. In her early 30s, she should be thinking about her job, being financially secure, finding time to hang out with her friends, and just generally being comfortable with who she really is. So my next point, I've got to take a drink. Okay. I speak sarcasm fluently. It's part of my YouTube handle. It's part of my Instagram handle. I am a very sarcastic person. I am the female version of Chandler Bing. Miss Chandler Bong, if you will. I love me some witty comebacks, but it was too much from these characters. Every single character is just so snarky and snippy and hilarious. There's also the additions of like curses like hex me sideways and hell spells. My opinion, it was overdone and it was really just starting to make me cringe. And I recognize that this is a me issue, as other like romance and witchy books tend to do this and tend to use the cutesy things. I mean, hell, I really am one to talk, as I'm the one who's always trying to find a way around this time of year to work like trick or treat into my writing, but it wore me out. Yeah, others might find this really adorable. I was looking for a pair of scissors to ram through my eyes. Alright, so the next thing might also be something that only I find weird, but Violet and her friends, and even Violet's sisters, talk about sex a lot. I know that shouldn't be weird and that sex is a normal part of life for many people, but there's just a lot of focus on it. I know my friends have sex, and if they want to talk about it, I'm all ears, but we don't constantly talk about it in every single conversation. Like, we have other interests. We're not always just in the bedroom. I don't know. And again, that could be just a me not understanding some of the tropes and some of the, elements that fill a romance, but what else is there to you? Like, apparently sex is your only personality trait. And then after they finally do the deed, both Violet and Lincoln refer to it as a sex fest. Sex fest. Sex fest. Kill me. I also think it was kind of odd how Violet and her succubus friend were introduced by the size of their boobs. I actually had to check to see if this was a classic Reddit men writing women book. Why don't we hear about Rose and Olive's boobs if we're going to go that direction? I do know I'm not alone in that. I did see other Goodreads reviews that people were like, what does it matter that she's a 36C? I don't, it was weird. It was weird. I also think the character Bax, he is always calling Violet babe. Why? If it's some sort of joke, fine, but it just kind of jumped out to me. Her friends kind of just seem to exist to be supporting characters, and I recognize they are supporting characters, but they're very clearly just supporting characters. They only exist in Violet's story, and they kind of don't really seem to have their own lives or motivations outside of being her cheerleaders. It's another probably just me thing, but if some old dude calls a woman, especially a person, princess, and the princess in question is not their 5-year-old daughter or niece, or she's not a actual literal princess, I find it kind of gross, and that was included a lot in this book, and I don't need that. Moving on to the world building, I really don't understand the magical hierarchy in this, or Violet and her sister's powers. How do they manifest? Do they say spells? Is it a la Charmed and they each have a unique power on top of the ability to cast spells? We also constantly hear about Link's inner wolf, which I guess is much like Sparky. And the first time, at least I think, that we see him shift is on page 294. Page 294. What's the point of him being a shapeshifter then, or a werewolf, or I don't even, what is he? What is he? He's a wolf shifter. Why have him be one then if we're only gonna see it like happen one time? At least let it be a part of the story. And again, I have to admit, shifters and paranormal romance is not my typical genre, but if he's gonna be a shifter, let me actually see him do something with it. If Vi is having such trouble with her magic around him, couldn't he have some problems controlling his magic too? And like also, why? So the book says that she starts out magicless and then gets her powers when Link comes back into her life. So why is Violet the only one who needs a man for her powers to manifest? I mean, if we have to go that route, shouldn't they have manifested as a child if she grew up around Lincoln? Like, her whole flaw of not trusting herself or others felt really contrived and didn't accurately explain why her magic was absent for so long. Like, was she a super mistrustful baby? Like, how old were her sisters when their powers came in? So speaking of like their family line, like being a prima is important. But why? Like, why did a prima need to be with a shifter? Kind of seems racist when there are other supernatural races present at the council. How does it work with the elders? Like, what is the structure of this government? If it's going to be a major part of the story, help me understand it. Also have to say, I was extremely confused by the last, like, major obstacle to them getting together. She overhears Lincoln saying something about their arrangement and goes all drama llama, like, you were just pretending to date me. Yes. Where have you been the entire book? It says fake dating. You can't get mad that he says you're fake dating. Maybe there was more to it because I was skimming near the end. But to me, it just felt like manufactured conflict. It gave her a reason to be mad about their situation that was already forced to begin with. Overall, this, at least for me, could have been a cute read, but it felt like there was too much going on at the same time that, like, nothing is going on. There are formulaic scenes to show, like, how great Lincoln is, but we never really see them, like, actually rebuilding their relationship, getting to know each other as they are now. It's essentially lust at first sight, and then true love with a lot of politics thrown in as a backdrop. The things that should have been explained, like how magic works, or their supernatural hierarchy, weren't, and the things I didn't really care about were over-explained. Also, some of those subplots did not really pay off that much, and that time could have been better spent showing Violet's magic, or even them having more time together to talk about and build their relationship. Again, I wanted to like this, and went into it with an open mind, but it was a real struggle to finish. I gave it 2 stars because I do like books about witches, but this made me want to throw it into a bubbling cauldron. All right. Thanks for joining me for Wine Club. If you have any recommendations for, like, actually good witchy books, please, 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 please leave your recs in the comments below. Otherwise, I'll see you next time at Wine Club.